It's time to talk more Angry Joe news. It's been forever since I've addressed Angry Joe in any capacity. And a big reason for that is because he's become completely irrelevant over the past couple of years. He doesn't talk about games, he doesn't make reviews, his film reviews are terrible. His subscriber count is going his views are going low, are getting lower and lower, right? Like he is becoming obsolete. He is a relic of the that guy with the glasses era, right? Nobody knows who he is. He's not a particularly good critic. He doesn't leave much of an impact. Nobody really takes him seriously. Like he's been made fun of several times in regards to like the She-Hulk thing, and there are just countless examples of things you can bring up when it comes to Angry Joe and like the crazy things he's said over the years. But one of the things I say, which is quite a bit different than what other people focus on, is his weird bias against Nintendo. Right? Angry Joe is very much a stereotypical YouTuber from the mid 2000s in the sense where he genuinely believes that Nintendo is kiddie and that none of the games are any good and that like nothing interests him, right? Even though that's pretty obviously not true, right? He loves strategy games, never played Fire Emblem, never played Mario Kart, had no idea that like Sephiroth was in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, right? There's so much you could talk about when it comes to like things that Angry Joe should be interested in on Nintendo hardware. At the very least, like he liked Breath of the Wild allegedly, and yet didn't take the time to play Tears of the Kingdom. Really? That's always been his claim is that like, oh, I don't have enough time, but your career is playing video games, right? Like, why exactly do you not have the time to sit down and play a video game and tell people what you think, right? Again, there are a lot of reasons for this behavior. Nintendo doesn't do partnership deals with him. Um, his audience doesn't really respond well to Nintendo games, right? There's a reason this is happening, but again, this kind of goes into why you can't trust gaming YouTubers, right? Because they aren't creating content based on their actual objective opinions or their actual interests or anything, right? They are grifting for clicks. They are grifting for attention, right? They will do anything to get those clicks, to get people to watch their videos, and for companies to sponsor their videos, right? And I actually noticed today, well, a couple of days back, that Angry Joe uploaded a video covering Unicorn Overlord, the Nintendo Switch strategy RPG from Atlas and Vanillaware. The game that is, I think, going to be my game of the year so far, right? I love Unicorn Overlord. I put a lot of time into it. I think it's fantastic. I had several hours of gameplay in the demo when he uploaded this video, and I watch him play it, right? And it's a sponsored video, right? He's sitting there like telling you like, oh, there are over 60 characters in this game, blah 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 blah. Like we don't usually play this, but Atlas, our friends at Atlas, sponsored us, right? Like being pretty open about what they're doing. It's a sponsorship, right? They were being paid to play the game, right? And it's really interesting seeing him try to pretend to be interested, right? Like, oh, it's like an anime. Oh, look at this. Oh, like it couldn't be more obvious that he's not going to play the game again after like his sponsor time is up. But the thing that really bugs me about this, right? The thing that really bugs me about Angry Joe playing this like really complex strategy game is that he only gets like two missions into it, right? Two missions in, right? Like that's not even really past the tutorial, right? Like I don't even think the game really starts until you leave the first continent, right? Like everything up to that point feels like a tutorial to me, right? Like the fact that he played two missions, right? One of which is like very straightforward, where you just select the guy you want your guy to go after, right? And then you just win, right? We've seen this happen, right? Angry Joe like played two missions of like the most basic bitch like strategy RPG thing ever, and then like had that be his sponsor, right? He didn't go into the technical depth. He didn't go into how the game played. He didn't go into its unique features or its setup or anything, right? Like he didn't do a good job selling you on the game at all. And the comments kind of reflected that because there are like two camps in the Angry Joe sphere, right? You have people like me who are already going to buy the game already, who know Vanillaware's pedigree, who know like that this is an Ogre Battle spiritual successor, that they know what the gameplay is like, they know like how the game works and how to optimize your units and like what to expect in the full game. People who like played like the demo, right? 5 hours of crazy SRPG goodness, right? And then you have the other crowd, Angry Joe's typical audience, of brain dead, just neophyte plebeian retards, right? Like, oh, this looks like a mobile game. Oh, this could run on my phone. Oh, like Nintendo Switch. This is a major release on Nintendo Switch. The platform is doomed, right? Like we saw this on this comment section, right? And I addressed this. I pointed it out. I kind of made fun of it, but like I really wanted to make a video like addressing this happened, right? Like, because this is, I think, a very blatant example of why these kinds of sponsorship streams don't actually work, right? Because like a lot of people are going to reject the game purely based on how it looks, right? PlayStation and Xbox fans, Joe's typical audience, non-gamers, like they're gonna look at Vanillaware and they're gonna say that like, oh, this isn't StarCraft, this isn't Warhammer 40K, this isn't cool or westernized enough for me. Like, these people who would never play Fire Emblem, who would never play Advance Wars, who don't even know what Ogre Battle is, right? Like these are, like I said, plebs. These are people who don't know the slightest thing about this genre, right? But yet they're making these big blanket judgments about the game anyway. Like the whole complaint about like it looking like a mobile game specifically is interesting to me, right? Because anyone who's seen this game in action knows it's gorgeous. Everybody who's seen it in action knows like the character art is great, that the environments are great, that the world map is really fleshed out and detailed and interesting with like unique topography and just like a really interesting gameplay loop. You have like the really cool maps and like the units that you can optimize. Like I am having a blast playing Unicorn Overlord if you can't tell, right? But I didn't feel that way. I didn't get the impression that Joe felt the same way, right? When I watched him cover this game, I got the impression that he was trying to sell a product, right? And to me, that's like something that a YouTuber should never, ever, ever do, right? Like this is supposed to be an enthusiast platform. You're supposed to talk about the things that you like. You're supposed to talk about the things that you enjoy. You're supposed to be creative. You're supposed to be innovative. You're supposed to be like passionate about the things you cover. But like you don't see that out of any career YouTuber. Like none of them. All of it is like, pandering to the algorithm. All of it is just like trying to get as many clicks as possible. All of it is just like completely out of touch with what people actually want to play. Because, Angry Joe's audience seems to think this is going to be a bomb, but everything I've seen seems to indicate that this is going to be a major, major success for Atlas and Vanillaware. Like, 13 Sentinels was a notorious bomb when it first came out, but it's gone on to sell over 1 million units. I think considering Fire Emblem's popularity and like the Nintendo Switch like appeal, right? The factor, right? This is actually launching on a Nintendo console. I expect like Unicorn Overlord to do phenomenally well, right? Especially among Fire Emblem fans. Like this is something that I am very, very, very enthusiastic about, like very, very much want to see succeed. And yet, like, I saw so many people going into this, like, trying to tell us that, like, Unicorn Overlord is not a major release, right? Just like they tried to tell us that Princess Peach Showtime is not a major release. Just like they tried to tell us that Super Mario Bros. Wonder is not a major release. Just like how they tried to tell us that The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was not Game of the Year, right? Like these people are coping and seething, right? They cannot process that the Nintendo Switch platform is dominating right now. And titles like Unicorn Overlord, their success and popularity on Nintendo Switch do nothing but confirm it, right? Like there is nothing you can do to deny that Nintendo is just dominating the gaming sphere right now, and that games like Unicorn Overlord are being made and are becoming successful on Nintendo platforms. There is no denying that Unicorn Overlord is going to be one of the best strategy games of 2024.